everyone. I'm Elvis, and it's another episode of Life with Elvis podcast. And this is kind of a special episode because it's in some way it was in the making for almost 2 years. So I'm going to be talking to Leilani Lucero, who's a psychic, and we're going to be talking about the Akashic Records, which is a pretty interesting topic. And on this podcast, she gave me a reading, and a few weeks after that, I actually met her. She finished the reading, and so stick to the end because I'm going to tell you like what she got right, and yeah, you'll see. Just stick to the end, okay? So enjoy the podcast. This one was recorded back in August 2023. Now as I'm recording, it's end of June 2025, and yeah, enjoy. Welcome to another episode of the Life of Elvis podcast. As always, I'm your host Elvis. Today with me is Leilani Lucero, also from San Diego, who is a Akashic Records practitioner, medium, energy healer. So once again, very interesting topics. And before we start, just a word from our sponsor, Terra Vitality. If you want to improve your health and cut through all the conflicting information that's out there about health and fitness, make sure you check out our services and courses. Or if you just want to have a nice t-shirt that's organic, designed by some of our previous guests, go into the description below. Check it out. And as always, we also support Project Child Save over here. So if you want to help someone out, children that are being unfortunately trafficked, then go donate. It's a non-profit organization run by volunteers, so all the money you donate goes directly towards missions to rescue kids. Thank you very much for your help. And now, let's get to our guest, Leilani. Happy to have you on.
Thank you, Elvis. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so tell us a bit more about yourself, what you do, and how did you get there?
Yeah, I love talking about the Akashic Records. I'm an Akashic Records practitioner. As you introed me, I've been very interested in the occult and the mystic, for all my life and all my lives, right? Because we don't just have one life. And in the last few years, I've been focused in this work. So I have clients all over the world. And what's wonderful about the Akashic Records is that it helps people heal. It helps them move through any transitions or hardship, or helping them move through anything that they're stuck in, limiting beliefs or negative thought forms, any wounds, patterns that have come up from, childhood or past lives or anything. And so, yeah, I do this work because it's so fulfilling, it's so fruitful. It helps people along their journey, it helps them heal, it helps empower them, it helps them transform. And yeah, it's wonderful because I've been able to meet really incredible people around the world. I because I am able to do this on Zoom or WhatsApp, or when I'm traveling, I'll meet people within that city and might connect with like a yoga center or a holistic practice and work with them and partner with them. But like you said, I'm here based in San Diego, and I'm originally from the Bay Area in California. But I've been doing this for a few years now, and amidst all that's been going on in the last few years, like this is really important, I think, to help raise even greater the collective consciousness, right? Because
That's for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
ever since the pandemic, people have been awakening in ways that we as a collective have needed people to, and so helping them through this while they find their center, while they find themselves, it's been a really beautiful experience.
Yeah, I can imagine. You're actually not the only one that's been telling me that they started doing at least more of this during the pandemic, and because of that. So as crazy as everything is, and that's going out there, there's also a lot of good going on.
Yeah, yeah,
That's for sure.
definitely. And I think it's I think this term has been thrown out a lot recently. Like the Akashic Records, what is that? People are used to like traditional psychics, but not really talking about the Akashic Records. And I know that you have shared that you've spoken to an Akashic Records practitioner recently, and they probably expressed this to you, but the Akashic Records, and I'll just give a brief overview for your listeners.
Hmm.
It's an energetic repository of everything and anything that has happened within the universe, right? So there's a universal Akashic Records, a compendium of all events, all actions, all things. But each person, each entity or being, because it's not just human, they have their own Akashic Records that holds your emotions, your actions, your uh, potential possibilities, actual outcomes, right? Anything and everything relating to you. So being able to access the records actually provides a greater resource, a greater tool to get a person to where they want to be through their healing, through adjusting any even physical ailments, to like reaching a goal or a life change for them. So yeah, it's a beautiful way to actually have a full scope of everything and anything. Yeah, that helps somebody in a different way, right? Because you can just get a basic reading, or you can go to therapy or do coaching. But this is really, truly an all encompassing resource and tool that's available for people. So I love that it's being talked about so much these days.
Yeah, it's really good that all this stuff is coming out and people talk more about it. About it. Just a few decades ago, no one knew about
Right.
most of this stuff that we are talking about. Before we go a bit deeper into all this stuff, did you were you always in touch with your abilities, or they come
Yeah.
later?
So I've always been intuitive. Um, I think when you're younger, you don't exactly know what you have in like differentiation from somebody else, right? You just kind of assume like what you have is what you have, and then you continue to grow and you learn how to be in a society, right, that has societal norms or ways of being. And for me, I've always felt other, but and I didn't really talk about that, what that other was to people, because while I felt other, I was still very much involved in like strong communities and groups and things within school and whatnot. But I've always been intuitive. I've always had like precognition. I always knew when things would happen, or what a person was working through emotionally, or who to trust, who to not, who felt good, who had great energy. Um, not until later did I realize my own channeling abilities and all the clear senses that I had. But also at a young age, I also sensed and felt and saw beings and entities, right? But I kept that to
Hmm.
myself because it's one of those things that, like, there's still a stigma behind it, right? People may think you're crazy, right? There's still a
Yeah.
stigma behind it, but and also just trying to understand what that means for yourself, right? And the emotions behind it. When you're a little kid and you sense something, it's scary, right? It's scary, and you don't really know how to articulate it or how to move through it. So oftentimes when kids are young, they just like try to make it go away because it feels
Yeah, and many times on top of it, the parents are like, "Oh, you're just imagining that. It's
right.
not real." It's
Right.
only making things worse in a way. If there's if they are legit experiencing that stuff, obviously.
Yeah. So, yeah, to your answer, I've had different gifts throughout all my life. Only in the past, like, recent years, have I realized how the depth of my channeling abilities and the depth of like the clear senses that I have.
Right. And when you mentioned encountering some beings, what were they,
Yeah.
or what kind of encounters were they?
I mean, there like are countless. There are countless. Like circumstances or situations where people are like, "Oh, I saw a ghost or I experienced something that have happened," right? So at a young age, I know that I felt things energetically within my spaces that were not human. Some of them were angels, some of them were like lost souls, just ghosts within the space, and some of them were my ancestors that had passed. And those are all in different categories, right? I didn't know back then who was what because it all felt just different and other to me. Now I very much have a clear distinction on, because I am a medium, so, and I see things all the time. For me, I liken it to a dimmer switch. So it never fully turns off. Like my dimmer doesn't turn off. I can turn it on, and then all of a sudden I'm working through all of the things that I'm with and I'm seeing, or I can turn it down and be address one thing at a time, or really turn it down and just be present. Like right now with you, I've turned it down so I can be present in this podcast interview, so I'm not distracted by all of the
Yeah.
things that are
No
happening.
interruptions.
Right, you know, like you didn't ask for other guests to join us, right? Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they're not welcome.
Yeah, but even in my sessions with clients, sometimes, actually most oftentimes, if not always, a loved one or a spirit guide or a particular being will come through that's helping them during this part of their life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. I actually experienced some of that stuff over the last, so, since I think last September. That's when it all kind of started for me. And this year it's been like super crazy in this regard. Even just the fact that I'm doing so many podcasts about this, it's like,
Yeah.
anyway. I wanted to ask you: did you consciously work um, on strengthening these abilities or training them in some way?
So when I left a previous career in tech, like I had over a 15-year career in tech recruiting. I was um, helping startups scale and grow their business, right? From like head of talent acquisition point of view. So after many years, over 15 years in that career, but while still maintaining a very deep spiritual sense of self. Like throughout my life, I've had different spiritual mentors and people that have been like a really big influence on how I feel and how I grow spiritually, right? Because that's a big part of me. When I left that, and during the pandemic, I took a class just to learn a little bit more about the Akashic Records, right? To have a deeper understanding. And from that class, like having one practice session with somebody, I realized the depth of what I was able to channel in a way that it wasn't just intuition. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, I know what's going to happen and this person's going to get this and this is going to, it was like clearly directive information for people that like I wouldn't have known unless I didn't go in the records. And so I tested it out. I was like, great, let's see how connected this is, right? Let's see how deep my channeling abilities is. And every time it was just as accurate, it was just as resonant. It got just as much like deep, loving feedback from people. And I was like, okay, this is meant to be a thing. This is the direction I'm meant to go in, and it hasn't changed since. From that standpoint of like what I'm able to provide to people, what has changed is for me personally, my own depth and access to maybe otherworldly things, right? Like, since that time, I now speak a myriad of light languages. Like, since that time, like, there's other things that are going on that I'm able to do that I didn't realize I can do then. So it doesn't affect the actual session within the Akashic Records. It's now just added this other stuff. It's like if it was a CV, it'd be like, okay, now I can bullet point all these other things that I do. But does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
How do you perceive all these things? As I've noticed that some people, they are like, for example, the guest that I mentioned, Nicole, I could tell that she's super visual.
Mhm.
Even when she was doing the reading, she closed her eyes, she explained like what she was seeing. And then I've got a different friend who tends to feel emotions and kind of channels it through her behavior, which is very different in a way.
Yeah.
So how is it for you?
So I have all the clear senses. So when I go in, sometimes I'll close my eyes, sometimes I'll keep them open, but there's constantly, it's hard to explain, but there's constantly everything running. Everything's running. So I'm getting visions, I'm hearing things. I just like claircognizance, as you just know. Sometimes some things I just know, but I'm also feeling things. So it's really hard to explain because I also have friends that things come in just like one at a time where they see something and then they have to interpret the vision. I'm actually getting all of it and it's just coming. Like I don't know how else to explain that. Yeah, it just kind of happens and it kind of it comes like, and because it's all happening at once, like I just know what's most important and how to relay it. If I'm not able to, because sometimes there are guides, right, like the client's guides, that come in, and all of a sudden there's a lot of conversation. There's guides, there's ancestors, there's spirit as a whole. Everybody's talking to me and I have to be like, okay, one at a time. I need one thing at a time. Can we get clear on the information that I'm meant to be given? And sometimes the information isn't meant to be clear because I've had clients where spirit wanted them to learn for themselves how to move through it. They were given like specific direction on how to do that, but they weren't given specific information on exactly what it meant for them. Like that was part of their learning. Yeah,
Hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like it's similar to, because for me it's the Akashic Records and everything is held within the Akashic Records. I feel like a person that is a practitioner has to have the range, right?
the
Like
what?
they have to have the range to be able to
Hmm.
access it, and that looks like different things. Like this year particularly, work around light languages came up, and I had a friend that said, wow, you're so good at translating the light languages. And I'm like, well, it's, yes, it's all held within the records. So if I'm accessing the records, which is based on the foundation of love, it's like the highest power, it's everything in all consciousness. Then if someone's speaking light language, then of course I should be able to translate it, you know? And it's not just English that I'm translating to, it's actually the energy that also comes through with it, because light language is about the energy. Um, it is that it's encoded with that. And so, yeah, it's just one of those things that, like, for me, if people are interested in getting an Akashic Records reading or having a session with a practitioner, I think those are good questions to see like how things come through for them and the ways in which they come through, right? Because it's different than a psychic. It's different than a psychic reading, you know. Yes, there are psychic abilities that I'm able to tap into, but it's actually more than that.
Hmm. Now, do you meditate, or have you, for example, done some psychedelics, if I may ask?
No, I mean, I have in the past, but not since I started doing this work because my connection to the divine is pure and I don't want to mess with it. I connect very easily, and I don't feel the need to expand that because it's already expanding every day and every second. Like that's the time and energy and space that I'm in. And that doesn't mean that I'm against it because I understand why people want to explore and expand their own consciousness. But my connection is so pure that right now I don't feel the need to do that. Yeah, it's just not something
I-
that I'm interested in,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, no worries. And do you meditate?
Yeah, I mean, I meditate in different ways, right? Like I ground, I have constant communication with spirit, so that's a form of meditation. You know, even though I'm not fully quieting my mind, I'm accessing a greater, higher elevation of power, right, and consciousness. So that's a form of meditation. Um, I think you have to be very, very clear on the reasons why you're connecting, to this higher power, to this higher level of consciousness. And it has to be pure, it has to have good intention. Because you can connect to things, but there's a lot of stuff in this world that isn't of the highest light and resonance. And so having that pure intention is like the first step to get there to wherever you want to go. For a lot of people, if that's meditation, or if that's it could be like ecstatic dance, or it could be whatever it looks like for them, sound baths, like they're all great tools and modalities to get a place of um, quietness and stillness within self to go in, right? You got to go in before you go up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
Now, I was asking about the psychedelics because, for me personally, it was, oh man, it helped so much with so many things and amazing experiences. But the things that you just told me is I've always been interested in mysterious and just trying to find out what life is about. Why am I here? Right? Why we are all here. So that's one of the main drivers in my life. And main things that you just told me, it just remind me, okay, this is very similar to what I've heard over here or there, whether it's physics, psychedelics, and lots of other things. And the way you described how everything comes into you, it there's something. I guess a lot of people don't realize this. It's that there's a lot more information that comes into our brain than we are actually aware of it. Actually, our one of the functions of our brain is to filter the vast majority of that information out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we are just super overwhelmed. But when people take psychedelics, for example, and obviously those states are not unique just to psychedelics. I mean, everyone can achieve that through various other means. So it's just for many different ways. Now, when you take psychedelics, it the the filter is off,
Mhm.
right? So you gain like the full stream of information. So perhaps people like you, some other guests that I had, or even in my case, for me it's mainly dreams actually.
Mhm.
Where I get something interesting coming there. Maybe during these states and these people tend to have more of this information come through than, let's just say, the average person.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too that you're speaking about the mind, because the mind for me is like a different entity. It's actually what I use the least. I don't like to
Yeah.
utilize it. For me, the mind is about like 3D human ego, so much of this work is quieting the mind. But I think to your point that when you do psychedelics, it's actually about expanding your mind's consciousness. So I think that's why it for me may be a little bit different, because you want to be able to access different points and think about different things, and it comes through in ways in which your mind is trying to make sense of it when you do, drugs and things, right? Like, and I've had those experiences. I've done drugs throughout my life, but it's for me. I've worked hard to quiet the mind, to be still, to ensure that I'm not in ego and that everything is heart led, so that it's pure intention with a direct line of consciousness with the divine. So yeah, it's just interesting, because it is like, I feel when you take these things, it does alter the mind, and it's about going deeper after that. Like after you do the psychedelics, like what now that you have this new level of own consciousness, what does that mean for you, and how do you want to move that forward in your natural state, right? Because it did the
Mhm.
initial like opening, And then now what? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the integration phase afterwards. You have experiences where your ego is totally shut down, where all the boundaries dissolve, and it's like, what do you do with it afterwards?
Right.
Which is kind of like the opposite of when you, for example, meditate, or
Yeah.
go into a monastery somewhere in the hills, or something like that. Where you do the work for years, even decades, and then at the end you get some sort of satori or
Yeah.
similar experiences. This is the other way around. You just get the experience, and then you need to integrate it into your life. But again, it's just one many ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I think just because like there's so many directions we can take that just speaks to the limitless and the boundlessness that this work provides. And it's not like, for me, I love the Akashic Records because everything is within the Akashic Records. And the Akashic Records are limitless themselves. So, and they're constantly ever evolving because it's energetic, right? So now this conversation is adding more into the Akashic Records for both of us as individuals separately, right? But now there's this new connection that's formed, because we've now met in this life in this way, right? So that's also being added. And yeah, it's just really incredible because like it never ends. It never ends. That's what consciousness is. That's what the divine is. It's this ever going, exploration and limitless understanding of what is available to us. And that speaks to people's purpose too. Like, we're not meant to be in this world, in this life to like have to experience like such hardship. We're actually meant to go back to joy. We're actually meant to like feel joy and love at the highest possible capacity. Like, that's our purpose in life. So redirecting people like each time to come back to that place is the most important thing. And for a lot of people that can look like different modalities. Yeah.
Yeah, it is at the end of the day all about just love, truth, and beauty, and dissolving all the boundaries between us and others.
So
Okay.
yeah, what I was saying, when there are things that happen in our lives, like distractions or things that kind of disrupt the energetic flow, there's always a reason for that. There's always something to be learned with that. And if it has to do with like technology specifically, most of it is due to the electrical energy that's coming through when people are channeling, and there's really high level of frequency that's being worked that messes a lot of the times with technology. So yeah, that's something that we have to deal with when we're talking about this kind of thing.
Yeah, happened a few times on this podcast too.
Yeah.
So now the Akashic Records, I've been thinking about it, and even like just when you were mentioning about what they are, a few things came to my mind. So, people say that God, or the consciousness that permeates the universe, that it's in a way it's infinite, right? If you go along with that argument, that means that if it's infinite, it contains information about everything there was, is, or ever will be, right? It's kind of like the Akashic Records, right? And if you look into more, let's just say, mainstream science, this is it's been recently mentioned even by this UFO whistleblower David Grush. And when he was testifying in front of Congress, he mentioned the holographic universe, where the idea is that just like the event horizon of a black hole retains all the information on 2D of everything that just goes into the black hole, in a similar manner, the universe contains all the information within it. It's like a 2D projection, a projection of something that's 2D into 3D. And so there's at least some hints, if nothing else, even in science, that show in introduction that there's some kind of a bigger source of information, that no information gets lost, basically. And apart from that, even there's this notion that, which it might be true, that this reality that we are experiencing is information based more than anything else. If you go down you go down to a molecular, atomic, subatomic level, at the very bottom of it, it's probably just information. So that's quite interesting, I would say.
I think all of this is information. Like,
Yeah,
right. But it's how we utilize that information, right? Because
yeah, that's a whole different thing.
yeah, and science and spirituality, they're so interlinked, interconnected in so many ways. This whole idea of time, right? Just if you look at time, like time is really a social construct of the human mind. Time is also boundless, limitless, and doesn't really exist, right? Like,
Not necessarily a social construct, but it's simply, I would say, it's more like the way our brains make sense of the world around us.
right, which to me is a social construct. Like, anytime we create a system in place, like humans, we do it so that we understand something within the confines of ourselves, but that imposes a limitation, right? And it's like, with all of this, like you said, now with what's going on with more of the what's coming to light about what actually is being withheld from us around aliens and UFOs and things like that. There's so much more available, and yes, it's all information. Even our body gives us information, like, our minds give us information. I do feel that there are different entities and ways to tap into that information, and it's definitely how you utilize it. Because for me, the work that I do, it's in service of all of us. It's in service of getting us to a place where we feel healed, we feel empowered, we feel that we can move through this life with as much ease as possible, right? Because we are in this life to learn lessons. We soul contract ourselves to meet the people that we meet, to have these hard lessons that we have, these tests that we may go through. But to move that with some grace and dignity, it's how do you utilize the information we were being given, and how do you work it to your actual benefit, so that it's actually in service of your highest good.
Yeah, that's for sure. And we don't necessarily have to always know how things work to make use of them.
Right.
Like, even if you look at an example that comes to my mind, like Qigong,
Mhm.
for example, making use of the energy that flows through your body. Like, we still don't have really a good explanation of what Qi is,
Right.
and neither did the people who came up with
Right.
Qigong. All right, but it didn't stop them to make use of it.
Right. And that's something that
And
we're working through that all day, every day. Like, energy is
Mhm.
energy. There's so much
Yeah.
energy in the space, and there's things that come in that affect that energy. It could be information, it could be distraction, it could be anything. And it's about finding your center within that energy, right? Which actually is your own life force, right? That's what she is, your own life force. So, yeah.
At the end of the day, everything that we perceive is energy. Even the solid things, it's just a different state of energy.
Right,
So
right, right.
yeah.
So yeah, Elvis, do you want to go into your record, or
I was about to ask that.
yeah,
So, I mean, you asked me before, even when we were just talking via email, you asked me for some details. And I was like, what's this going to be about? So,
it's up to you. I like to offer this to people that I do podcast interviews with, because it gives
mhm.
their listeners an experience of what it may be like to work with a practitioner. And some people have different ways of going about it, but yeah, yeah, we can.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Like,
Up to you.
I mentioned on the previous episodes that I did just recently that I had some sessions with a medium, and the stuff that she told either me personally or to the other people that were there, it did come true, and it was like very spot on, you know. And I'm, even when I first came to the first seance, I was like, skeptical, making sure I don't say something that she could then use or something like that. And even now, like, just to be clear, um, the previous episodes from episode 24 with Jesse Orgi until now, by the time of this recording, haven't been released yet. So you haven't seen them. Have you watched any other episodes of mine or anything else I posted on social media? My website?
I did look when you gave it to me when we first
Right.
connected. I did look to see if it was something that was in alignment for both of
Yeah.
us, and it was. So yeah, but I didn't. I wasn't able to go deep and listen to your podcast.
Okay. Well, you lead.
So I will. I'm just gonna do a quick grounding breathing exercise for us.
Mhm.
What I do for all my clients, just so we're settling the energy. There's a lot of energy in this space.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
Then I'm going to say a pathway prayer, which actually opens up your records. And you had given me your information prior to this, so I'll tap into your records. And then I'll let you know what comes through. And if you have any questions, you can just ask. Okay. There's
Will
already
do.
somebody here for you, which is
Sorry?
interesting. There's already somebody here for you. They've been here for a
Mhm.
while. Yeah. It's a grandmother that's been here, or a great grandmother. She's like behind her right shoulder. Anyways, so just I invite you to close your eyes if it resonates. Feel your feet on the ground, connected to the earth, supported by the earth. Just taking a deep, soft breath in through the nose. Audible exhale through the mouth. Another soft, deep breath in. Slow exhale through the mouth. And one last letting go breath in. Exhale. This is good. I'm already feeling the energy come down from you. You're very body focused, body centric. It's like you need to take concerted effort to be in your body. So this is good. I'm gonna go ahead and say the pathway prayer now to open your records. I call upon Source, Divine Masters, Angels, Guides, Loved Ones, Dark Councils, and Keepers of the Akashic Records. I ask that I be one with divine truth and perfect integrity and alignment as I access Elvis' Akashic Records. Your grace and love at the highest power and with the deepest gratitude, I ask for divinity to pave the way. Okay, Elvis, the records are open. There's a few things that's coming up for you. It's like it feels as though there's chaos around you, and I don't know if this is like internal in your mind that you're actually feeling, or because you did say that you're like coming through like a new transition, but it feels as though it's like contained chaos. It's as if you're like, okay, I'm gonna take that in, I'm gonna sweep it in with this like vortex of what's going on, and I want to make sure I know where it lands, but there is actually no control. It's more so that like you're telling your mind that there's control there when because it helps create ease within you when you feel like there's too much going on. So for you, if there's too much happening, that's when you lose your own equilibrium, and you may like hyper focus on one thing that may not actually be the thing that you're meant to focus on. And so right now, what's coming up is they want you to really there's an idea of what this next stage of your life will mean for you. Like you have this set vision of what it looks like and what it means for you. But spirit's like, what you need to really do, and this is, about a lot of things, is feel through that energy of what what it means, because there's a disconnection that's happening. You're very Sometimes there's a duality between your mind and your body. Okay, there happens to be like a disconnection, and for you, like they're saying that it's felt in your chest, it's felt in like your lungs, and when we did the breathing, it's like, oh, okay, this feels good, your body is craving that. Okay, your body is now connected to your mind, we're back on board, we're on track, we're together, let's now move it forward. So you have to do with concerted effort, feel that connection between body and mind for full alignment so that you feel more in control. Because when your mind takes over, it's this like controlled chaos, but it feels as though it's like a tornado of like, you know what, I'm just going to add this to the mix. And it's like, no, what are you doing? You don't actually need to add that thing. That thing doesn't need to be done. It feels like somebody else can handle that. So you don't actually need to add this. And for you, yeah, they're just saying it's particular to your move. Um, it's like your mind keeps finding more things to add. Stuff like, oh, we gotta also do that. Oh, we gotta do that. When it's like, no, actually, only now are you saying that you need to add that, but before you never even thought of that. There's a reason why, like it wasn't an issue in the first place. Okay, so there's that. There is something too about when you arrive where you go. Having an open heart to the people that you're around. There might be some judgment that comes up quickly and this is also what they're saying, that when you go into a new situation, your defenses are up and you're like waiting, looking like to see like who is the person that you need to watch out for. Who is the thing that like, and they're like, release the wall, let the wall of judgment come down, because you do have a tendency of going into new situations and like having a little bit of judgment on the people that you're around. Okay, stay away from that person, don't trust that person seems cool, it's okay, because it feels as though when you get to where you're going, there's people that if you went about it in the same way, that you would mistrust and hold some sense of like uncertainty about, but actually that person or those people, there might be two people total, one for sure, up to two, where if you allow it, it's going to actually be a beautiful friendship. Okay, so let the walls down of any judgment of what has served you in the past. Served, right? They're quoting served because it hasn't really been of service. And see what triggers you as a reflection of going deeper into how you want to open up in this next phase of life. Because they're saying that you have an intention of opening yourself in new ways, like doing things differently in new ways, but also allowing yourself to receive in new ways. And they want that to be a part of your intention too, not just this vision you hold about where you'll be, but how you'll be with the people you're around. Okay, so create that within your intention. Are there any questions around any of that?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
I mean, I'll give a commentary once you're finished,
Okay.
and if I need to ask, I'll do so.
Okay. There's gonna be. Do you have a car lined up for when you get to where you're going?
That's an interesting question.
There's issues around it.
No issues really, but I was actually I was talking to a friend
Yeah.
whom I'm gonna meet over there, and you're figuring out. Okay, I was thinking, okay, do I at least for a few days get an Airbnb or hostel or something like that, or it turns out it's like same price. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll just sort out myself a Tesla Model 3, because it's really easy to like even like stay in the car, So I was like, my intuition is like, just get a car, you know. So I might do that.
Yeah, it feels as though there's going to be some hiccups along the way with the car situation, and that's why they're bringing it up now. So just
Hmm.
allowing yourself to like, don't let yourself get so frustrated if it doesn't look as though the way you've expected it to look, because there's going to be some hiccups, and that's actually it's meant to serve you. It feels as though you've been dealing with a lot of hiccups just the last 2 weeks, and it will continue for like the next 2 to 3 weeks still. Like random little things where it feels like little annoyances are gonna keep hitting you, and you're gonna have to like remember to breathe, allow your mind to connect with your body so that you're breathing through it, because it's also around this next phase in your life. Not only is it about you moving to what you envision your life to be, but it's also working through tolerance. Okay, what you tolerate, who you tolerate, how you tolerate. There's stuff around judgment, tolerance, acceptance. And it's acceptance with self, because you can be very, very hard on yourself if things aren't specifically the way that they are. Um, and so, because of that, you don't really tolerate people that maybe feel sloppy or messy or don't have their thing together, right? And so, finding a way to reflect and allow on the outside what you want to happen on the inside, meaning less judgment on the outside means you will have less judgment for yourself, because you can be very, very hard on yourself. It's sometimes they're saying there have been times in your life where you push yourself to limits, in your life. And um, they're saying both physical and mental, where you push yourself, and there's this feeling like, if I don't push myself, then it's not worth it. If I don't push myself, then it's not where, like, it hasn't it won't be the way in which it needs to be, like the end result. And spirit just wants you to be able to actually relax and flow into having more ease around that, giving yourself a little bit more softness and grace with that. Because there is a period too of like where they're saying, like, for love, that you're looking for specific types of love in your life, and there has to be a softness within yourself to allow that to come through. Okay, so
Hmm.
that's just, yeah. They want you to keep that in mind as you're moving through, you know, um, softening your edges, not being completely soft, because you are who you are, but softening your edges and not making it so you're so hard on yourself. So this idea of perfect and what perfectionism is, it's so rigid, you know being perfect is so rigid, and it's like we've just been talking about, like, the limitless, boundless nature of what's available. So if you want more available, you want less rigidity. Okay, so letting that, like, this idea of perfect, let the edges be softened so that more is available for you, more comes. There is a grandmother or great grandmother that's here, um and it's something to do with the flower. Something to do with the flower. I don't know if, like, her name means flower, or where she's from means flower, or something that she's not giving exactly what it is, but she's here. Um, there's something around expectations too with family, and it creating that expectation that you hold and have with yourself. Okay, so she's saying it's tied. Okay, it's a little later. So there's things within your family structure that holds certain dynamics and ways of being, and you've taken a lot of that on with how you show up in your life and how you need to be. And there are things that need to be work through, move through, let go, so that you can actually take on what is authentically yours. Like releasing some of the stuff that has been deeply held with your ancestral line that actually that doesn't serve you now in this time and as you move forward in this next phase of your life. And they're saying that you know some of these things already, but there are some things that like you're aware of that actually don't necessarily serve you. Some of it's tied to your mom. Um, she's not your grandmother or great grandmother that's tied to the flower. It's around helping them, around helping this particularly. She's saying that more will be shown the light in 3 to 5 months. So just notate this, like she's going to be here. She's around. She's helping with the transition. She's helping. But there's like deeper stuff. It feels like inner workings within the family dynamics. And in 3 to 5 months, some things will come to light that will feel like it'll touch on this thing that needs to be healed. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Yeah. Okay. Do you have any questions around any of that? Around anything?
Can you describe the person with the flower that was coming through a bit more, so I know like who it was?
Yeah. So grandmother or great grandmother, and she's like, she's not big, like she's not fat, but she's a little stockier. She's a little stockier. She has it's like, I don't know what color, like brown, light brown hair. She's wearing like a one, like a moo or something, like a one thing, like a, like a moo. I don't know what that is. Do you have names, and then I can tell you who it is and who it isn't? She's not telling me. She's related to a flower, something about potatoes. Like she's giving me piecemeal. She's not giving me like everything. Yeah.
Well, my grandma, with whom I was the closest in my family, her name was Irena, because I'm from Slovakia, so in English it would be Irene.
Your grandmother on your mother's side?
No, on my dad's side.
Okay.
On my mom's side, yeah, that side of my family was totally messed up, and especially my grandma on that side, she was like, I don't say it about many people, but she was downright evil.
She's it's interesting. She's the one. She's the one.
The what?
The one on your mom's side. She's the one that's here.
Okay.
And it makes sense because they were tying it to your mom, and the dynamics that need to change and what you've taken on. She's actually here now in the light of the light to help assist you so that it stops with you. Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting. Do you know her name? Because my whole
God.
body got reactions when you mentioned it. So she's like,
hold on. I think it was also Elizabeth, just like my mom. Alžbeta in Slovakian.
Okay. Check to see if she has a middle name, because I'm curious to see if it's something with a rose. And you don't have to do that now, obviously. Like look into that later or something. And we can look into something later because it feels as though you're going to be going through something in 3 to 5 months that is really touching this wound and this thread from your mom's side, specifically related to your grandmother that she's here to help you move. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You don't need to look out for it. You'll know it. They're saying you'll know it when you're experiencing it, because you're pretty familiar with the dynamics of where along the lines things kind of got messed up, and
Yeah.
also the effect that it had on your mother, and how that has in turn come to you. And do you have a sibling, a brother?
No.
Is it just you?
Yes.
Do you know if your mother has had a miscarriage or an abortion?
Not that I know of.
Okay,
No.
interesting. Okay, so yeah, just see what comes through in the next 3 to 5 months.
Hmm.
There's yeah, I'm just seeing something with another. With another. Okay. Any questions? Any questions around any more of this? Because if you ask specifics, they're able to give you, because what I'm asking for is there anything else important for him to know? And
Hmm.
if you ask specifics, then I check in, they might be able to give you more.
Okay. I'll just ask this. Is there anything that's going through about my love life?
Yeah. So things are going to be okay. There's something that you're involved in now. It feels messy. It feels unclear. And that could just be like how you want things to be in general. What they want for you is things are going to be opening up for you the more you look in within yourself, the more you deal with tolerance, acceptance, this idea of perfection, the more that you work through this family stuff that comes up, there's going to be an opening, okay? And it feels as though it's like not going to happen for like 8 to 15 months from now, from like today. But it's like unexpected, and it feels unexpected. Like you didn't think that this is what you were looking for, but this is actually what is best for you. And because of all the work that you've done previously, you can never have been open to that until you had done this work. So it's like it's different. All your expectations is different than like what you will actually get, and it's better. And it's better. So do the work. It creates an opening for this person to come through that surprises you in so many ways, so many ways, and like the safety that you feel with them and vice versa is something that you've actually never felt before. Like that is like your person. That's your person.
Is there a person that I already know right now, or I'm gonna meet in the future?
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah. And it's like being open to that, because this next period of your life is really you're being asked to change a lot of things. A lot of things. How you perceive things to be, how you respond to things, how you close up and open up, like all of those things that you're being asked to like look at, reflect upon, and change so it's really authentically who you are and come from that place. And then things will shift for you. There's going to be a lot of changes, not just in the next month, throughout like the next year plus for you, where it feels surprising and like you didn't expect it or want it, but it's actually in service. And it'll, on the other side, there's more happiness, love, and joy than you actually ever thought possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's different.
Right.
It's different, and I know that's disappointing, but yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Now, just to say quickly, because I know you have to go soon. Yeah, lots of changes going on with me moving to San Diego. At least my first stop over there. We'll see what happens afterwards. Now I'm doing things very differently than before, than when I moved countries before, because this time it's just like no stable place, no stable job.
Yeah.
It's like totally different. You know, being more free than I ever was. That's one of the main goals. Now, yeah, there was some family stuff. Like when you mentioned my grandma from my mom's side, she basically abused my mom when she was small. Stuff like that. So for me, it's not some of the stuff that I was working through. It was like insecure attachment style, money issues because of the
Yeah.
debts
Same.
my dad had. Yeah, stuff like that. So, and
And also,
yeah, that's what. Yeah.
they're also saying, and also how you perceive the love that you deserve and desire. Okay, because right now the love that you're receiving is actually not. It's not enough to what you deserve. Okay, and so what will come later is actually, this is why it's surprising, because you will get more love in the way you deserve it and the way you want to feel it, and that's also tied to your mother. Okay, and the safety of some of the stuff with your dad, but like what's going on with how your mother holds a container of safety within herself and not allowing people to hurt her.
Hmm.
Right? So some of that is tied to the relationships that you've held up until now. And
Right.
you're gonna see that. It's gonna come through for you. Um, yeah, and I just again I want to reiterate that the outcome that I see is so beautiful and more than what you thought that you would
Okay, sounds good. And also with the perfectionism, that's also a bit like, because I do have so many things to do, especially now with business, podcasting, everything
have. Yeah.
all together. And there's always a sense of like I'm not doing enough,
Mm.
or I could do better. So I guess there's also the judgment and tolerance coming in. Yeah. Um, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna close your records now.
Hmm.
Just do a quick check to see if there's anything else. Also, just the tolerance and the acceptance and the way in which you view yourself. It's also a reflective mirror for how you project and what you allow in. Okay, so it's twofold. That's something that they want you to be aware of as you move through and work through that. Okay. Okay. Um, Also, now you're going to be doing things more for you as opposed to what you thought other people would want, right? Like the things in your life that you've done, you're like, oh yeah, this will be good because people are into it and like they'll like see it and whatever, I'll be able to get clients or whatever because they're into it. Now it's like, oh, I want to do this because this is what I want to do. This is, and you're going to find more abundance and expansion in that because it's now authentically yours. Okay. So
That's kind of what I'm doing with this podcast as well.
perfect.
I mean, talking to people like you, and it's just because that's who I am. That's what I'm interested in. So that's what I'm doing.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and close your records now. Just take a deep, soft breath in. Exhale. Thank you, masters, teachers, and loved ones. Elvis's records are now closed. All right, Elvis, your records are closed.
Well, thank you very much for that. I'll keep these things in mind. Might rewatch this at some point later, and I might just do a separate video on what happens in the future. So I'll let you all guys know how things go. Uh, so I'm not gonna let you go. I know you're in a rush. So thank you very much for coming on my podcast. It was a great pleasure. And where can people find you?
Yes. So I think I've shared with you a discounted code if people are interested in having an Akashic Record session with me. You can find me at leilanilucero.com, LEILANILUCERO.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm on all the things. Everybody has to be on all the things these days, so I'm on all the things. Me and Elvis are connected on Instagram, so you can also find me that way. Yeah, it's a great pleasure. If you haven't had this experience, I encourage you to do so because there's so much available for you here, and it's only here to serve. So if it's not with me, find somebody else that you resonate with and see what comes through.
Yeah. Well, great. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast. Thank you guys for listening. If you liked it, give a like, share, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you, Elvis.
Okay, so I'm recording this after I finished my episode with Leilani because she mentioned that it was my grandma from my mom's side who came through, and it had something to do with a flower, right? And it kept bothering me, so I had a look at my old ass birth certificate, which had names of all my grandparents over there. And so it turns out, because that's how disconnected I was from my mom's side of family, that I didn't know this straight away. So my grandma's name for my mom's side, when her maiden name was Zvončekova, which is Zvonček in Slovakian. It's the name of a flower.
I'm going to tell you now what happened after I recorded this podcast. I ended up going to San Diego. So maybe a week later after, actually it was just a few days after I recorded this podcast. And I ended up meeting, maybe a week later, Leilani, and she finished the reading for me. It was pretty interesting because she mentioned that I'm going to go to another state here in the US. And I think it was a week later or just a few days later, I ended up going for a road trip from San Diego all the way to New Mexico, where I did a few episodes of the Elvis Explored the Unexplained. You can check out those ones on my YouTube channel if you're interested in the paranormal. So she was pretty spot on that I'm going to go to a different state in the US. Then she also mentioned that I'm not going to stay in the US, so I'm going to go somewhere else. I gave her a few options of places I was thinking I'm going to, but she immediately picked up on Tulum. And yeah, that's pretty much where I spent most of 2024 up until November. And so she was totally spot on. And last night actually I revisited, rewatched this whole podcast I recorded. And just like I said, actually I mentioned in the podcast at some point I'm going to have to re-listen to the episode again at some point. And some of the things were like, oh my god, I totally forgot she said that, and she was spot on. The main thing really was when she said that I'm going, it was the part where I asked her about my love life, and she said that, the thing that was going on at that point was kind of messy, which is what it totally was. But I'm going to meet someone new. 8 to 15 months. If I wouldn't have done the work in the work before, I wouldn't have gone for that kind of option. And interesting enough, I did an episode in August 2023, and exactly 15 months in November, I met my third partner, and it's a very different relationship to anything I had before, and she's very loving. Yeah, that was a pretty interesting episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I think this is really the only podcast I did that was in the making for like 2 years. So yeah, this was the last one that I had on the shelf, still lying around from 2023. Hopefully in the next few months I'm going to be recording brand new episodes, because since 2023 for 2024 I met loads of amazing people that I really want to have on a podcast, and they're really interesting, doing cool things, so you got a lot to look forward to. And so I'll say thank you for the support, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the new episodes. See ya.